This is the network to be in for conscious female entrepreneurs.
Hello, hello, gorgeous souls. We are about to drop in for day 2 of Laws of Abundance. And I do not know who just typed this because it just says iPhone, but let's go. Abundance is infinite and we are worthy. Like, yes, this is how we are starting off today. I am so excited. I'm so thrilled to be here for day 2. We have lots we're going to tap into today. For module 2, we're going to be tapping into more laws of abundance, and there's also some storytelling coming up, and there's some questions that you guys had yesterday that I'm going to tap into as well. And before we even go there, I also want to say thank you. I've been receiving the most beautiful messages from you guys, whether some of you had joined live, some of you caught the replay, some of you have been posting in WeAreAF and some of you have been tagging me on Instagram, and some of you have been sending me private messages. And it really means the world to me to hear back from you, to know how this work is shifting things so quickly for you. And these are truly the type of conversations that I hope and I desire, like, everyone in the world starts to get to have. Like, these are the conversations that I hope create the ripples and spreads wide and far. So thank you for your part in sharing. Thank you for sending me private messages. Like, it truly, truly, like, hits me right here. And so today we are going to drop in. Andrew, I agree. Everyone deserves an abundant life. I love these messages. Like, I've already started to listen for a second time. This for me is it. It's like this work, these conversations. Someone had also shared in the comments yesterday, like, I get it and I feel it, but like, it's not fully landing. And it's like, listen again and again and again, listen more than once, like, listen over and over, allow what already resonates in your soul to land as embodied truth, to be the way that you operate from. And so we're going to dive straight in today. I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to bring in, I read through the comments in the chat this morning, and there was really some great, like, questions that you were asking, comments that were being shared that I want to dive into around laws 1, 2, and 3 before we go deeper. There's also next week, we're having 2 days that are fully for questions and hot seat coaching. So if you asked something yesterday and I don't get it to it today, like, know that there's going to be space and time next week. If you're one of the people that I'm commenting about, that one of your comments yesterday, and you want to go deeper with it with me, like, we can do that next week as well. There's going to be lots of time for this deepening and integration work. But let's get started. Let's get started on day 2. And I'm going to start day 2 with a little bit of storytelling, because my line 6 nature, like, it's just my favorite way to operate. And I love that this happened yesterday in my life, right after Laws of Abundance, like, literally right after I got off the session with you. I received a message from my mom and I received a message from my sister, and I've got 7 nieces and nephews, and I shared with you yesterday, like, part of my love and my why behind creating abundance in my life is what I get to share with them, and what I get to, the experiences I get to share with my nieces and nephews and my sisters. And I got off our call, and my 18-year-old nephew, who is, like, pretty much like my firstborn. I mean, he's my sister's child, but I lived with them when he was a baby. Once he started crying in the middle of the night, he didn't cry for mom, he cried for Jack. Like, him and I have always just had this incredible relationship. And when I got off the call, it might make me emotional. Emotional authority coming out. He's having a bit of a hard time in life right now. Maybe we'll just leave it at that. But some grief coming up for him. It was just the 1-year anniversary of my dad's death. There's some other things going on for him. And in an instant, I didn't think this was going to happen because it feels very happy and exciting. In an instant, I was like, hey, scooping him up, like, energetically. And I was just like, what do you want to do? And I was like, do you want to come out here for the weekend? And not in this, like, savior energy or because I'm going to fix anything for him, but I just know, like, we love to be with him. We love to have him out here. My kids and him have such an incredible relationship and bond. I'm the person he really talks to, and was like, in an instant, like, come out here, spend the weekend with us. And he's like, yeah, he's a hockey player. He just happens to have this weekend off from hockey. It's like in between tryouts and his season starting. So he's like, yeah, I have like 4 days off. He's like, I can get the time off work. He's like, I'm in. And so then I go to book flights for him, and the flights are triple in price of what they normally are. And I love that it didn't even cause me to like hesitate for a second. And if I'm being truthful, like a couple years ago, it would have. There wasn't the availability for me to pay triple what I would normally pay for a flight, to have him come out here and to have us be able to like love up on him this weekend. It would have been like, ooh, is there another time you can come? Let me look at flights next week. Let me, whatever it is. So this conversation where we were having yesterday, that money creates freedom, like this is the type of freedom that it creates in our life. And whatever we desire to do with the money we create, this for me is like so important, that I get to do what I want to do, that I get to choose, and that I'm not limited based on money, which I was limited based on money for so long in my life. And so this is why I'm so passionate about this work and these laws of abundance. And yes, the majority of everything I'll teach it and lead and talk about is in the energetic realm, because this is what allowed me to create the abundance that I have created, and in turn the sense of freedom to really like live the way I desire to. Stephanie is saying, this is what I want, to be there for anyone at any time without money being a consideration. And like, this is it, right? It's like, and I remember Melanie writing a post about this recently, actually, as you said that. And it's like, not that money doesn't, like, it doesn't get to be the factor anymore. Like, it's just a piece. It's just one part of the equation. Like, I easily got to say, like, here we go. And like, literally within, I think about 5 minutes of him sending me, I want to come, I already have his passport, was like, boom, here, like, here's your flight, tickets are booked. Like this. Dimple, so weird to hear that you were limited. It was interesting as those words came out of my mouth, because I was like, is that true? And, I'll probably share some stories later on in this conversation where I'll question if that was true, that I was limited, but there was definitely times that I felt limited when I would go up into my mind where I felt limited. But when I would drop back into like choices and I would move from a soul knowing, I don't think that there ever really was limitation either. So this is the beginning. This is the story. This is the energy of laws of abundance, the energy that was brought forth for me yesterday. And, there's another piece of this that I feel like, do we want to tap into? It's not really laws of abundance, but I'm going to share it anyways, because I feel like it's going to lead into the laws of today anyways. The other piece of this that's cool about this story is I always believe and trust and know in this or something better. I believe that the universe is conspiring in my favor because I am conspiring in my favor. God's conspiring in my favor because I don't go into forcing, convincing, making it happen energy. So it's also my daughter's birthday this weekend. It's her 8th birthday. And if you follow me on Instagram, I really want to go on a road trip for her birthday. I've been really wanting to go for a road trip, and my kids love going on road trips. Andrew, I also know it's your birthday on Saturday, so because you guys are birthday twins, so happy almost birthday. I really wanted to go on this road trip for her birthday, and I thought she'd be all over it. And she was like a very like clear sacral no. She was like, no. And I was like, like my husband and I were very surprised. It's like a fun road trip, one that she would love. Last weekend, we were talking with her and my son about like, what's one, like if we were traveling anywhere, somewhere you haven't been before, where would you want to go? And if we do a trip that we've already done before, what would you want to do? And both of my kids said like this road trip we were on. So I was like, she's going to love this idea of a road trip for her birthday. And she was like, no. And she was very clear, like the reason why is that, that's kind of funny. She's like, I don't want to just be with my family for my birthday. I'm like, ouch. But I was like, oh, okay. And it's a long weekend. I was like, I don't even know if your friends are around, but like, let's see. And so I figured out that 2 of her friends are around, and we planned kind of like a fun day. And now I'm like, well, maybe this is why, maybe she didn't want to go on a road trip because my nephew wouldn't have went on the road trip with us. Like, we get to be here. He gets to come out. And then the funny thing is, as soon as I booked his flight, she's like, okay, I don't want anyone else here for my birthday. Like, I don't want any friends for my birthday. I just want Nate for my birthday. And it's like, you just can't even make this stuff up. But I could have, like, trust me, I could have very easily bribed her, convinced her, forced her to go on this road trip, and was like, we let go. And it's like, we can't see things that we can't see yet. And this is part of like the wealth and the creation and the abundance. Can we allow ourselves to not see? Can we allow ourselves to not know? Stephanie, what amazing parenting. Like I really, this has been, I mean, this could be a whole course in itself, but it's been so important for me to like honor my kids' sacred yeses and nos and understand their human design and how I parent them. Okay, before we get way off track, let's bring it back. So we're gonna start off with some of the comments from yesterday. And Christy, I don't know, Christy, if you're here live with us or not. I can only see some faces on the screen right now. But Christie posted in We Are Alpha Fam after yesterday, and she shared a post about how she noticed that she gave money and a donation to something that she was invited to share money with. And then she realized after it came from a transactional type of energy, that transactional type of energy that we talked about, giving in order to receive. But then afterwards, when she recognized that she did this, she went back into herself and she's like, wait a second, did I really want to do that? And the answer was yes, I want to. And so she saw where she intertwined the energy of giving and receiving and was able to then disentangle them. And this right here, I love this story, Christy, and why I wanted to highlight it here right now is you asked me a question at the end. You were like, and then things opened up, and then you did end up receiving something yesterday. And this is the power of choice. Remember at the end of yesterday's conversation, we were talking about willingness. We were talking about choice. This is it for me. Like, we get to choose, and we get to choose again. And if you recognize that you made a choice in one energy, question it. Question if that's the true energy. Question if it's something that really feels like I want to, I get to. And if that is your truth, allow it to be here. And in any given moment, we get to choose, we get to shift energies. Like, we can shift frequency like this in a heartbeat, in a second. And so allowing ourselves to choose and choose again, especially when it comes to money, as like these codes, your wealth codes, your money codes are so deeply rooted within you. So if you notice lack come in, yesterday we were talking about lack. If you notice lack coming in, instead of like sitting in it and wallowing in it and being like, oh my gosh, I had that thought of lack and now I effed everything up and now it's gonna spiral into this. It's like, wait a second, how cool is it that I noticed? How quickly did I notice that thought of lack coming in? And now I get to shift it. And this is where we make ourselves like wrong or not enough, or we've messed things up because we've had the thought. And having the thought is not the problem. It's like, can I bring my awareness? Can I see it? Can I shift it? Can I choose something else right here, right now, in this moment? So Christy, I wanted to highlight that because I loved that story. And then I'm going to drop in right now for a couple of the questions. So one of the questions came in yesterday. How do I live like my future self when the money isn't here to support it now? And this conversation came up when I shared my story of like operating as a seven-figure business owner before I was a seven-figure business owner. Now, notice that this isn't like spend like a billionaire. It's like think like you're a billionaire. It's not like I wasn't out there spending like I had a seven-figure business. It was more in the essence of what I brought forward. It was in the questioning of myself. It was like, okay, if I had a seven-figure business right now, would I be worried about that person judging me? Would I be to feel that this was too vulnerable and that I wouldn't be willing to share it? Would I let that fear stop me? So it was more like, how would I choose to think? How would I choose to operate as my future self versus like go out and fake it till you make it type of energy? So that was one thing I want to touch on. Another question. Oh, I loved this one. Someone just offered, this is what someone shared yesterday. Someone just offered me a complimentary session, and I felt I had to offer her one in exchange. Otherwise, she might think I'm selfish to receive her offer, like for real, for real. So this, again, coming in that transactional energy, like to receive, I have to give. Now, I actually say no to anything that feels like it has to be reciprocal and anything that creates a transactional energy for me. And I mean, like, I'll say no to anything. People ask me to be on their summits all the time, and it usually comes with a and you have to like send this many emails and do this many stories. And I'm like, if that's a requirement, no. And it's just like that simple. It's very much like that doesn't feel aligned for me. Now, chances are, if I'm on your summit and we have an incredible conversation, I'm going to want to share it. And I'm going to share it in my own way, and I'm going to share it on my stories and maybe in my email, and like I'm going to share it however I share it. But and I understand why people do this, but it doesn't feel aligned for me. So it gets to be a no for me. Anything that feels transactional, I just say no to. So if it's a requirement, and I'll send an email back literally saying this, if it's a requirement, I get it. I don't think I'm the right fit. If you're more open for me sharing in my own way, like I'd love to. And this again allows me to feel like I get to give because I give, I get to receive because I receive, I get to do because I do. If you tag me on social media, and for me, it feels like there's any energy of like something, off there. It's like, because I then need to share it, I'm not going to reshare it. And like, I just get to anything again that feels like I have to because you did, doesn't work for me. I was thinking about this as we were just about to start, whether it's in business or in my personal life. I was wearing these beautiful earrings today. And of course, I just happened to choose to wear these earrings. And these were a gift from a girlfriend of mine a couple of years ago for my birthday. We were in Costa Rica together at the same time, and it was my birthday, and we went out for lunch. And then we have a friend that owns a jewelry shop there, and she was like, let me like treat you. And I was like, okay. And she bought me these beautiful earrings, and these are like a $300 pair of earrings with this beautiful labradorite stone. And this was a few years ago. She's had 3 birthdays since. And guess what? I haven't bought her a birthday present. Does this make me a horrible friend because she gave to me and I haven't given to her? To me, no. I don't want to be in relationships where it's like, I have to give to you because you gave to me. I get to receive because I get to receive. I get to give. And trust me, there's plenty of ways in which I give to her, but it doesn't need to be transactional birthday gift for birthday gift. To be honest, I just have never seen her on her birthday since then. We haven't spent a birthday together, and maybe we will one day, and I'll want to buy her a birthday gift, and maybe I won't, but like, this is what I really mean. Like, I actually just choose to operate in like, I give because I give, and I receive because I receive, and I do because I do. And yes, I love the permission. It feels so much cleaner. And then, but then notice, like, where do we tell stories? Like, you could be thinking right now, Jack, you sound like a horrible friend. Well, I can assure you, this woman does not think that I am a horrible friend. I'm literally the first person that gets called when she's like, can you send prayers? What this is going on with my kids? Like, we give and receive in different ways. And for me, it's like, I want to give in such clean energy. I don't want to give and buy her a gift because I feel like I should, because she bought me a gift. Can we allow everything in our world to just be so free flowing? Sometimes people who can receive so beautifully are a gift. Ooh, I love that. I love that. I've yet to detangle from this feeling of having to or feeling badly when I don't. So then this is what this sorry, I read two things at the same time. So I have yet to detangle from this feeling of having to or feeling badly when I don't. So this is where I invite you to look at through the lens of I get to frequency, and asking yourself the question, like, does this feel like I get to? Does this feel like I want to? Like, sometimes you're just going to desire to get, like, your actual nature is desiring to give, and you're entangling with that, oh, I should, but it's like, actually, my true desire is to give. So just get curious about it. Ask yourself the question, like Christie did today. She's like, actually, I felt like I was giving because I kind of felt like I needed to in order to receive, or because I felt bad if I didn't. But when I actually went deeper within myself, I wanted to. And so it's like, own that frequency as well. Give me permission to be the pure me. Okay, fabulous. Another question. There's a couple more questions, and then we're diving into the laws for today. This is what we talked on earlier. I feel like my soul recognizes information, but there's this thin veil it's hiding behind. I can't access it 100%. This is, again, I touched on this a bit already, but bring that awareness again and again and again. Like, the fact that your soul already recognizes this information is true. Like, let's celebrate that. Come back, listen again and again and again until it feels embodied, that it's like what your soul's already experienced is true becomes embodied. I read the same books over and over and over again because I'm like, okay, what this book is touching me, it's like, I don't want it to just live up here. I want it to like be the way in which I operate from. Tiffany said, so funny, my book launched today on Amazon, and I was tempted to share on social media that it's not about money for me. I want people to read it and share it, and it's really not about the money. So this was yesterday when we were talking about the bestseller. This is one other piece that I want to really share. And I know that we talked about it yesterday, but I want to anchor it in deeper before we go beyond today. Like, again, like, your book gets to be a bestseller. Like, do you want to make money from it? My assumption is like, of course. And it's really important that it gets to be both. So it's not that it doesn't get to be about the money. Like, let it be about the money. Have the desire for more on top of more, which we're going to get into in a moment here. Like, have the desire, have the like that want, like, put it out there. And it's like knowing that it gets to be both. It's about more than the money. It's about that you want this book in the hands of people who it's going to impact as well. It gets to be both 100,000%. And there was one more thing, I think, here. Let's see. Okay, the last one. Someone said this at the end. Wow, this is really a leap of faith, trusting in energy more than logics or in the physical world. And this truly is it for me. It's like, can I trust in my soul knowing? Can I trust in what I feel, what I know to be true? Can I trust in and anchor into belief more than what I see in my current reality, knowing that things are happening behind the scenes that I can't see yet? And so can I trust in where I feel called to go and what I feel called to do and what I feel called to say and how I feel called to move? And then this will bring us back to that first law of abundance, like knowing that abundance is infinite. Tapping into the second law, you're worthy of receiving because you are. And so holding this energy, abundance is infinite. If abundance is infinite, if you're worthy of receiving, if we're operating, the third law, truth expands the frequency of abundance. If you let this be the energy that leads you, abundance is trying to make its way to you. Abundance is there for you to access. Wealth is right at your fingertips. But it does take this recoding, the shift of moving from like what I see, what I have evidence for, what I've experienced in the past, into seeing ourselves as the creator and deciding and choosing what comes next. So a little wrap up from yesterday, some questions that we got to tap into. And now we're going to dive into the fourth law of abundance. And this fourth law is that money is energy and money responds to you, and that you dictate how money flows. And this is your beliefs about money. And one thing that I want to highlight here, I also saw a comment yesterday that we're going to bring in that said money feels conditional. When I feel good, it's here, but sometimes I feel I can't be human, as when I feel bad, it comes to a screeching halt. I'm going to invite you to look at this, and I know that this is true for many people, and I feel like why this often is true is that we've taught like you need to be high vibe, like you need to be in a high vibe in order to receive. And what happens when we think of high vibe? We think of dancing around the kitchen in our underwear, being like rah, 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 like everything is like rainbows and butterflies and sparkles and fairy tales, and have this idea that like, okay, I can only receive when I'm in that energy. Well, guess what? You are divine, and you are a fairy and a butterfly and wisdom and magic and all of the things, and you're human. And you're a human with human thoughts and human feelings and human emotions. And there's days where sadness is going to come in, and there's days that you're going to feel disappointment, and there's days that you're going to feel heartbreak. Does that mean you can't receive in those moments? I don't believe so. I don't believe so unless you believe that you can only receive in one energy. I receive always in all the ways. I can receive when I'm sad, because I don't make the sadness mean anything. I don't make the sadness mean anything about who I am. I don't make the sadness mean anything about being able to receive. I don't, like, again, I'm not putting that equal sign in there. And so I can receive always in all the ways because I'm giving freely, I'm doing freely, I'm receiving freely, I'm allowing myself to be human and divine. I'm allowing myself to experience all that life has to offer and all that life has to experience. Now, what I experience this of is like having this belief that I receive always in all the ways. It means that remember yesterday we were talking about our auric field because I'm in a place of holding my personal power and expanding my personal power, not making it mean anything. Well, what's it actually doing to my energetic field? Even when I'm sad, my energy field can be being expanded. But the moment that I decide that being sad or being angry or being disappointed means something about me, well, this is what happens. Then I start to shrink my energy field. Then I start to shrink that auric field. And so, well, right now, my guess is that you probably do have a lot of evidence that when I'm not excited or bubbly or dancing around the kitchen in my underwear, when I'm not high vibe, I don't receive. Well, now that's just a self-fulfilling prophecy that you'll continue to create because the belief is and the evidence is like that is true. But in reality, and I don't even like the word reality, but in reality, like it is not true. The belief code makes it true. And so what we want to do here is shift the belief code. So if I know money is energy and money responds to my energy, I get to look at my beliefs around money. I get to look at my beliefs in any given moment about what I'm available to receive and where I block that receiving channel. Because the biggest thing here is that money can't be your ally. Money can't be your ally, your friend, and your enemy. And this is what we often do. It's like, okay, I want money to respond to me. I want to receive always in all the ways. And 1 second, I'm like, money is the best thing in the world and I'm open to receive. And then I like open up my eye and I'm like, wait a second, did anyone buy it? Did anyone do it yet? Ugh, no, money sucks. Money is so hard. Money doesn't find me. There's never enough. And so see what we do? We like bounce around in our energy with money. It's like, oh, she's a good friend. She's a bad friend. She's a this, she's a that. And it's like, can we bring in this energy around money? Like money is, and money is what I make money to be. And, and so it's like, yeah, where do we make money the enemy? Also, where do you use money as an excuse versus owning your truth, versus staying in your power? There are many times, and you may think, I don't really do this, but I want you to question yourself on this. Do you ever say like, oh, I'd love to go on that trip, but I can't and I don't have the money. And the reality is, if you really wanted to find that money, like you could find that money, you could figure it out. Or you say, oh, I can't, I really want to buy that dress, but I shouldn't. I can't. I don't have the money. And you always make the reason about the money versus choosing, I don't want to go on that trip. I don't want to spend money on that. I don't want to buy the dress. So see what we do? We all of a sudden like poo-poo on money and make money the reason for everything. And then we're like, why is money not showing up for me? Why is money not my best friend? Why is money not coming to me? Well, what's the energy that you're putting out? Because if money's responding to you, are you inviting with money? Are you playful with money? Do you get excited about the idea of money? And notice what I said about the idea of money. Do you get excited about the thoughts of play with money, even if there isn't an abundance and overflow of money for you to play with right now? It's like, what energy am I giving? Like, where am I inviting money to meet me? Where am I inviting the universe, God, to play with me in the realm of abundance? Where do I sit in victimhood with money? Can I shift from victim to goddess energy? Can I shift from the victim, again, looking at these belief codes, the beliefs that we have, knowing that things shift in a moment? What did we talk about yesterday? Like the belief, the knowing, the experiencing. As long as you see yourself as a victim with money, as long as the belief is that money doesn't show up for me, as long as the belief is that money is hard, that's what we create. That's what we continue to experience, because we can't create something when our belief is the exact opposite. And so belief, like come into the beliefs. What are you choosing? What are you choosing? Not to just believe about money in this, like, let's cross my fingers and hope, but like going into this soul knowing of money. And what takes you into that soul knowing? Like maybe it's this conversation here today. Maybe it's the activation that we do tomorrow. Maybe it's a book that you've read. Maybe it's a post Melanie's wrote. And so like save it and read it every single day. What brings you back into these laws of abundance? What brings you back into feeling the truth about money at a soul level, even when your mind, which like, let's remember, our mind is so powerful, even when your mind tells you something different, even when your mind says like, hey, dummy, look at your bank account. Like that belief is like so out there and it doesn't make sense. And whoever told you that was full of BS. Like, can you come into the soul knowing what feels true in your soul, even if you don't have the evidence for it yet, even if you can't see it in existence yet? Okay, so if I'm saying I want to do that, but I can't afford it, blaming money, what happens when it's actually true that I can't afford it? So this for me is like simply choosing not like to not blame money, to not make money the like the excuse, to not make money the thing that you're now putting negative energy towards. You can shift into like, okay, this is something that's not happening right now. Let me bring it into the realm of desire. Like shift from this sucks and money sucks into the realm of desire. It's not available right now. Let's put it on the 111 desire list. Let's bring it into vision. Let's get excited about the idea of playing with this in the future. The future could be 5 minutes from now. The future could be 5 weeks from now, 5 months from now, 5 years from now. But like, let me land in the realm of abundance versus again, the realm and looking through the lens of lack, looking through the lens of scarcity. Okay, let's tap into the fifth law. So the fifth law is that money follows the path of least resistance. And these laws today are really going to lead one into the other. And so the biggest thing here, and I know we touched on this slightly yesterday, but expectation is what extinguishes the flame. The flame, the fire of money desiring to make its way to you. And so look at where there's expectation. Again, when you do something that then there's the expectation to receive. Look at where where you're attached to outcomes, where you try to control money, where you try to control the way money flows to you. You know, one of the biggest things that often happens in this industry, it's like, okay, well, I did the free masterclass, I gave for free, so now there should be people buying from me. And it's like, and notice how quickly, if this is you, notice how quickly this happens. It's like, okay, I just finished delivering the course of my life and I sold in my power and I made these incredible offers and like, I can't wait to welcome all new clients in and I'm excited and I'm high vibe and it feels good and money, 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 make its way to me. And like, yes, to all the soul clients. And then 5 minutes goes by and you're like, wait a second, nobody bought from me yet. And like the course ended 5 minutes ago. Oh my gosh, now it's an hour and no one said yes yet. Wait a second, did they not like it? Was it, should I redo it? Oh my gosh, let me delete that live that I just did because it must have been horrible. All of a sudden, because people aren't moving on our timeline, we make it mean something. When the truth is, this is probably an invitation for you right now. If this is you, it's like, can you hold the energy of your knowing, of your truth? So your truth, you're knowing that you just rocked it. Your truth, you're knowing that you are the fullest expression of yourself. Your truth, you're knowing that you're in your power. Your truth, you're knowing that you're a freaking rock star. Your truth, you're knowing that your sacred wisdom is like the most potent sacred wisdom. Like it is incredible for people to be able to receive. But no, in an instant, we're so willing to shift into, wait, there's something outside of me that's not matching what I feel right now. And so there's got to be something wrong here. Can we keep, when I say like money follows the path of least resistance, can we keep pathways open? Can we keep the energy field clear? I often love to share this when and I just finished running a couple of times a year. I run a free mastermind that's called The Deep, and there's usually anywhere from like 300 to 500, 700 women that will join me in this space. It's a free mastermind. It's 2 days, and I mean, it's different each time, but this time I invited 22 women up to get live mentorship with me, and everyone else came and participated as an observer. Now, I'm doing something for free, and there always is, every time I run the deep, there is an influx of people that tend to come into my offerings. Now, you may say, well, of course, Jack, you're giving in order to receive. But I will tell you what's the coolest thing about this is that I give in this energy, like I shared with you yesterday, I give because I give, and I receive because I receive, and I do because I do. The biggest influx of people that I have come in to work with me at that time are never even part of the deep. And so it's not like, oh, I did this, and then the 22 women who are part of that live mentorship buy from me. It's like I run the deep, and this is the reason why I truly run the deep is for me first. It's like when I run the deep, when I'm in 2 days back to back of 4-hour mastermind sessions, like I get off those calls and I'm like, you're such a genius. I get off those calls and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want everyone to listen to this replay. I get off those calls and I'm like, oh, those were the most expansive conversations. Like my energy field is like this after those calls. So I know whatever I do in that energy, like people are feeling, people are magnetized. I go do a post, a story on social media, on Instagram, and it's like, boom. And this is what happens. Like just yesterday, a woman that came in, not part of the deep, not in this space with us, like came in for my mastermind. And like this happens all the time when I run an offering like that, not because I'm attached to, one of those 22 women buying, the people in there buying. It's like I do because I do, and I give because I give, and I receive because I receive. And I invite money to meet me here. I invite money to take the path of least resistance. And I don't have these expectations. I'm not attached to where the money comes from, where the person comes from, how they find me, what it looks like. It's like the more I am who I am. So see, we're starting to blend in these laws together. Like the more I am who I am, the more I do freely and give freely and don't have attachment to anything, the easier I make it for money to find its way to me. And I have the belief that money is always trying to find its way to me. Abundance is always trying to find its way to me. Like money is like, can I get in her hands? And so I've got to make it easy. I've got to make it easy. And I've also got to look at where I'm creating resistance. What does this mean? How do we create resistance? Look at where I'm not willing to look at money, where I'm not willing to play with money. And so for me, what this looked like, very early on in my mentorship journey with Melanie, I think this was literally our second conversation, our first or second conversation we ever had one-to-one. I mean, did not feel like I was seeing in my reality what I believed I was a match for money-wise. Like this was when I was $200,000 in debt. This is when there was $12 in my bank account. Like I was like, I feel rich. I feel expanded. I feel like I'm in my power and my truth. And I'm like, and yet money is not reflecting that back to me. My bank account is not reflecting that back to me. So I was like, okay, let's roll up our sleeves here. Like, let's find my money block. And she was like, okay, let's do it. I was like, but I don't even think I have a money block. And we were talking and she's like, I don't think you have a money block either. And I was like, well, then what is it? And she's like, well, is there like avoidance with money? Is there this? Is there that? And I was like, I don't even know. And she's like, how open are you to like money, magic money, money falling in? Like, how open are you to money coming in that way? And I remember there was also a conversation going on in the mastermind at this time of like, I just received like the surprise money in PayPal today, and I received this. And I was like, how the frig do you receive surprise money? I'm like, I know every payment that's going to come in. Like, people buy from me and they tell me they're going to buy from me, and I expect that it's coming. So I have all these expectations around money. It's not just like that money can fall in from the sky. And she was like, okay, I want you to play with opening and looking at your PayPal every day. And I was like, well, that's kind of dumb. I'm like, why would I do that? Because I know that there's not just going to be surprise money in my PayPal one day. Like that's going to feel disappointing again and again and again. She's like, play with it. Like play with money in that way. Play with the possibility. Play with not expecting it and it coming. So I was like, fine, fine, I will do it. And I did it. And this was like end of October, beginning of November. And I was just like, this is so stupid. Like every day I was like, oh, no surprise, no money in here today. And I was like, okay, I'll check tomorrow. Okay, let me go check that PayPal thing so I can see that there's no money so I can tell Melanie so I can get on with my day. Like this was honestly my energy for a couple weeks within it was like, this is dumb. Like, why am I wasting my time? Like, yeah, it wastes like maybe 30 seconds, but 30 seconds is a waste of time. And then I got to the point where it's like, okay, keep telling myself, keep telling myself. And Melanie wasn't like shift into possibility. She was just like, would listen to me, like, not there today, not there today, not there today. And I remember this moment being like, what if? Like, what if tomorrow there is money there? Like, what if? Like, what if I wasn't disappointed? Like, what if one day there was money in PayPal that I didn't expect? And I was like, can I get my energy behind that? And I was like, well, is it actually possible that that could happen? Like, this is where I brought in the realm of possibility, meaning, are there pathways open to receive money that I don't know about? And so then I looked at it and was like, well, in truth, there is. My experience and my evidence is that people always message me before they buy. My experience and my evidence is people ask me for the link. My experience and my evidence is people tell me they're coming. Does that have to be the way? Well, no. I have a podcast, and I recorded a podcast 2 months ago that had a link to buy in it. Like, somebody could go listen to that podcast from 2 months ago and buy today, and I might not see it coming. I wrote an email a week ago that had a link to an offer. Could someone read that email today and come in without me knowing? Yep, they could. I have a link tree in my Instagram bio with links to offers. Could someone magically click on that link and buy from me? They could. So all of a sudden I started to like actually see, well, I do have pathways open to receive money, but I was blocking it again because I was like, my beliefs, I was in resistance around the fact that like it had never happened before. And honestly, like it was not long. I want to say it was like mid-November, like probably the third week in November. But there was, and I don't know exactly, I think it was either a $21 or a $44 payment in my PayPal, and you would have thought it was $1,000,000. I was like, oh my God, there somebody like paid me and I didn't know it was coming. And it was like, it does happen. Like it does happen. It can happen. But I had to go through all these motions of telling myself how stupid I felt and feeling disappointed for 2 or 3 weeks that it hadn't happened yet. And then I had to actually look like, okay, maybe my energy is not connecting here. Like, I was like, is there actually pathways open? And when I was like, there's pathways open, I was able to see I'm the one in resistance to this. I'm the one blocking it because I'm literally controlling, like, well, you have to come to me this way and you have to come, like, because I've posted on Instagram and shared a link with you that day, whatever it was. It's like I had all these restrictions on how I was able to receive that money. I wasn't making it easy for money to find me. And so money follows the path of least resistance. Have the pathways open. Like, can you have so many pathways open that there isn't expectation? What this also looks like for me, I think I shared this yesterday. Like, I often, when I sell, I did share this yesterday. When I sell like 7 things at once because I love the energy of feeling like there is 7 doorways open. There is multiple pathways open. And I know that this doesn't feel aligned for everyone, but when I feel like I'm selling one thing, that's when I get like energy feels tight. Energy starts to feel restricted because it's like you have to then buy what I want you to buy when I want you to buy it. I love to have multiple pathways open. This isn't really connected at this point, but I just feel that this has been a question coming in throughout the day. It's like, well, what happens when like I need to make money? Like, what happens when I need to make money and the money isn't there? This is again where I open up multiple pathways. This is where I invite you more into the like play with money, see where you create resistance, see where you're trying to control it. Oftentimes, I mean, when we're at that place where it's like, I need to make money, like bills are coming up and I need to make money, we can do a couple things. It's like, well, let me just like hold the energy for this like one big offer and pay in full and hope that one person comes into it. Or let me put out a low price offer and hope 1 million people come into it. And it's very much like, what do I need to do? What should I do? Like, what's the easiest way? But we mix it with this energy of lack and need and should versus coming back to our own alignment and like, okay, what do I get to do? What do I choose? And it's like, I want to frequency. This for me, because like I said, this is my very real reality for a long time. It was like money in, money come, money out. There was bills to pay. This for myself is where I started to play with cash injection offers. And what I call cash injection offers, it's like, okay, It's not my like long-term offers. It's not like the mastermind that I'm going to run for 12 months. It's not a big one-to-one client coming in. It's like if money is like needed now, if it's like drop in cash right now, how do I want to play with money to drop in? What do I want to create? What type of offer would feel really fun? Maybe I'll open up 4 different offers all in this energy and the frequency of cash injection, meaning that like I do it in I get to frequency I want to. I get to open up a 4-day Voxer space. I get to open up a mastermind that's 5 weeks long. Like I get to play. I get to play in creation. I get to play opening up these pathways again so that money can find me because my energy within it isn't in scarcity. I'm not launching from scarcity. I'm not launching from lack. It's literally in, I get to, I want to, let's play with money. Let's see, let's experience. What does it feel like to play with like the idea of like calling in a cash injection in this way? So this is where it's like, okay, can you open up multiple pathways and can you detach the energy from like the how it has to happen, the timeline of it happening, and see where's your expectation coming in, and like I said, like extinguishing that flame. And this is where it happens. It's like money's like right there. It's like money's like here, funny, like right there, right about to make its way to you, and all of a sudden boom, like we cut off the energy because we put in our expectation, we put in our control. Going back to that story that I first shared with you about my nephew, my daughter, I would have cut off the opportunity for my nephew to come here if I would have like controlled and forced my daughter and manipulated her and bribed her to go on a road trip with me. Like we do this in so many ways, and we do this a lot with money. Okay, apparently I can't drink my tea right now, you guys. Okay, whew. Take a breath here. Let's take a breath here. Let's actually let myself have a sip of tea. You're spilling the tea. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. Where are we? Let me come back in for a moment without spilling the tea, and I'll spill the tea on the last 2 laws that we're going to tap into. So the 6th law is faith, trust, and surrender is the money magnet. And this is where our need to know blocks the flow. So not only was the last law about the expectation and the control, but oftentimes we as humans, again, with our powerful human mind, we think we need to know. It's like, hold on, before I can believe in the possibility, before I can believe in the potentiality, I've got to have all the pieces of the puzzle. I've got to be able to see everything. I've got to know how it is possible. This is where we shift things from the realm of potentiality, the magic, the quantum, the desire, and we bring it into this like predictable mind level. And we can slip into this in a second. You know, gosh, this story here just reminds me of how quickly it happens. So another conversation I was having with Melanie in mentorship, and I was at this place where I felt like I was, plateau kind of income wise. It was like, okay, hitting like the same amount every month. And she was like, well, what if you made that in a day? And I was like, oh, that would be fun to play with. And it felt like just this fun desire, play, energy. What if I made what I make in a month in a day? And then later on in that afternoon, I was in the ocean, playing in the ocean with my kids. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, wait, I'm launching this thing tomorrow. And if 10 people bought it and paid in full, I could make what I make in a month, in a day. Like I took it so quickly from the realm of desire into the realm where I could figure it out. And I had to stop myself. I was like, no, wait, here you're putting in the like, this is how you can see it happening. If you want it to this day to exist in the realm of like magic and miracles, like let it live in the realm of magic and miracles. So I kind of did what we talked about with Christie earlier. I like backtracked that energy. I disentangled it from like, okay, I've got to figure this out at a human level. And I was like, I'm just available for it. I'm available for it. And I believe that God and the universe is conspiring in my favor because I'm conspiring in my favor, and I'm not denying my soul, and I'm moving when I get those splenic hits, and I'm moving in faith and trust. And so I'm going to allow, I'm going to shift into the allowing frequency and the allowance of this to happen. And of course it did. And of course it happened. I think it was about 4 or 5 weeks later, it happened, but not from my control. Our need to know blocks things. Our need to know slows things down. And why it slows things down is that our mind, again, powerful, moves like this, like one step to the next step to the next step. Our mind needs things to make sense. Our mind needs things to go in a logical fashion. Our mind, and so it's like, you've got to keep like, okay, your mind can go this far and then you catch up. Then your mind goes this far and then you catch up. And then your mind goes this far and then you catch up. So your mind's only going to take you so far. And it's going to take you a little bit farther than where you are right now. And so it's just going to take more time. This is what I mean when I say you're slowing things down, because you're moving at this pace, versus like, okay, I don't need to know. I don't need to know. I don't need to figure it out, because I'm willing to just take each next step. I'm willing to take each next step and allowing all of the pieces of the puzzle to be revealed to me. I'm not waiting till I have all of the pieces to start moving. And this is where that energy comes in. This is where we start to move things faster, where we start to manifest faster, because we're not in waiting energy. We're not waiting to see all the pieces of the puzzle. We're not waiting to have everything be revealed to us. And this is where we start to transcend the human mind and open up to the field of infinite abundance, infinite possibility, infinite potentiality. And so if we bring in, this question that we asked yesterday, like, if you knew your success was inevitable, if you were willing to move beyond the human mind, to transcend the human mind of what you already know, what you've already experienced, what you already have the evidence for, if you knew, if you trusted that money was right there waiting for you, what would you be willing to do? What would you be willing to say? How would you be willing to operate? Would you be willing to let go? Would you be willing to not have the how figured out? Would you be in a frequency of allowing? Would you allow the universe to bring things forward for you and allow yourself to respond? I mean, how many of you here are manifesting generators and you're here to respond to the world? Do you even give yourself the opportunity to respond? Are you too busy trying to know, trying to figure out, moving from this place of I know and logic? Your mind is only can take you as far as your mind can take you, as far as what you can see through your human eyes, your human lens. When you shift and then you allow yourself to move from the lens of your soul, from the lens of knowing, from the lens of trust, everything happens at a different rate. Everything happens at a different speed. And gosh, there's like a million stories I could share with you. Like, faith and trust and leading in this way is like my jam. It's like where I lead from. Of course, there's the action, there's the aligned doing, but this faith and this trust. And I think that at times, like I said, there's a million stories I could share with you right now. I think it's at times that it may be easier to say like, well, Jac, that's easy for you. That's like easy for you right now. And you might be right. Like right now, maybe it's easy for me to have faith and trust and to surrender. Just kind of goes back, Dimple, to the thing that you said to me earlier. And I forget exactly what you said, but you're like, you said something, but it's like hard to imagine me feeling restricted by money. And when I listen to the sixth law, like I know that this was always there for me before I had the evidence, before it made sense, before, I knew it was gonna work out. And if I go all the way back to the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, it was in 2010. In 2010, I opened a clothing store, a children's clothing store in Yorkville, in Toronto. It's like this high-end luxury, like children's fashion boutique. Like I carried all these designer lines, and I had no business opening this store. Let's just say, like, my first journey into entrepreneurship, like I really had no business doing this. This is my background. My mom and my sisters own clothing stores. Like I had been in the fashion industry for so long. I had been buying for them for so long. And I saw all these like really cool children's brands come out. And my nephew that I shared with you before, he was, I think 3 or 4 at the time. He spent a lot of time with me in Toronto. I've got 4 nieces and nephews that are between the age of 17 and 20. And it was like, I started just like dressing them up. I'd be like buying clothes for my mom's store, and I'd be like, can I just buy these kids' clothes just for my nieces and nephews? And then I decided one day I'm going to make this a business. I'm going to open up this clothing store. And it kind of happened on a whim. Like I was literally walking through this area in Yorkville and Toronto. I was like, if I had a store, like this would be like the place that I would want to have the store. And this man walks out of the building and he happens to own the building. And somehow by the end of the day, we're in a contract that I am going to open my store in his building. And I've sent him all the money that I have, like all of my savings, everything for first and last month's rent. And I tell my mom and my sisters after, and they're like, okay, great. But like, this really sounds like something you would do. And they're like, do you know, it takes more than that to open a store, right? Like it takes like, you have to buy inventory. You have to like do all of these things. And I was like, yep, I know. I'm like, where's the money gonna come from? I'm like, I don't know, but like, I'll figure it out. Like, I'll figure it out. Like, I just felt like, how did this happen? And this, you know, it was meant to be. And this man walked out and it's the building I wanted and all of these things. And so I went with the energy of, I'm going to figure it out. At that point in time, I was waitressing at a restaurant in the evenings. I was like, I will dedicate my days to opening up this store. And it was a couple months out before I had to pay my next month rent because it was February and I wasn't going to open until April or May or something. So like I had some time and I was like, I'll just like do the things that I've got to do myself. And I'll talk to the people who are giving me the, you know, who I'm buying the clothes from, and I'll work out terms so that I don't have to pay them until I open and until it starts. I was just like, it's just gonna work out, was the feeling that I had. And again, it made no sense. I didn't have the money, the funding to like actually do this, but I was like, it's gonna work out. Well, that weekend I also so I met the man on Friday on the stairs. On Sunday, I met my now husband. And, you know, all of this happening at one time in my life. And about a month later, my husband was like, do you want to go to New York? Well, he wasn't my husband at the time. He was my boyfriend. He wasn't my boyfriend. We were dating. I think it was our second date. He's like, do you want to go to New York for the weekend? And I was like, yes. And I went to New York with him for the weekend. And like literally like the first night we were there, like we were just having like the time of our life. We were having the time of our life. And I get a message from my mom, and she was like, this man that she had dated previously, who just is an incredible man, and who we just have such an incredible relationship with my family. She's like, he came into the store, her store, and was like, what's Jac up to? And she's like, you know, like Jac's being crazy and Jac, and she just decided to open the store. And like now we're trying to figure out, like, she doesn't really have money to do it, but she's already signed the lease and she's already in. And you know, this is where she's at. And he's like, oh yeah, sounds like Jac. And he's like, how much does she need? My mom's like, I don't know, probably like $30,000. Like on the spot, writes her a check and gives it to her and says she can pay me back like without interest. I didn't even know that this person had money like that to give. I would never have thought to ask somebody for money like that. I was just like, I'm gonna figure it out. And I went and I continued to live my life, and I was in high vibes. Sorry, I had to say that because that was just kind of funny. But I was not in, like, I had the faith and the trust and the surrender for it. So Dimple, when you ask, like, it's hard to maybe imagine me being restricted by money. I don't know that I actually was, in truth. It's like I chose to follow the call of my soul. Like I knew, like I just knew that it was going to work out. I knew that if I was willing, that things were going to open up and become accessible to me. And you know, this story may be triggering for you. You may say, like, my mom doesn't have an ex-boyfriend that would just walk in and hand over a check, and that's how you got your start, and that's not fair. Whatever story you're telling yourself right now, I want you to know that's where we block the flow of miracles, because we believe it's not possible for me. Well, it might not be possible for you in that way. You may not have your mom's ex-boyfriend come hand you a check, but there's other miracles out there existing, but we block it off when we're in the control, when we're not willing to trust in. And what this really is for me is like trusting in my soul more than I trust in my human mind. And I had to train my voice to listen, I had to train myself, sorry, to listen to this voice, my soul voice, that oftentimes doesn't make sense. I had to train my soul voice to make more sense than my human mind makes sense. I'm starting to see some comments come up that I've been missing, so I'm just going to tune in for a moment here. Oh my God, tears flowing. I needed this today. Something cracked open. I realized yesterday that everything in my life I'm most grateful for came to me by way of luck. And that makes me go, what? It's truly mind-blowing. And this is it. It's like we actually, when we look, often have stories of like things that happen by chance or by luck, and maybe we don't call it a miracle. But what if we start to look through the lens of everything being a miracle? I am an emotional authority. I'm an emotional authority. And then I love that someone below said splenic underneath. And if you're talking about me, I'm not sure if you're talking about me, but I'm an emotional authority in my human design. I have my spleen defined though. And I really I operate very much from my defined spleen and my defined G center, because I like the spleen is just like there for an instant for me. My G center brings in this I know because I know feeling. And I started to really, when I look in hindsight, actually, like I feel like human design validated for this for me, that I've always operated in like listening to my spleen, listening to this, like I know because I know energy. And most often I listen and I move with it, even though I'm an emotional authority, because when I hear this depth of knowing, I'm not in an emotional wave. And so I don't wait for the emotional wave to pass because I'm not in an emotional wave. And if I don't act and move on that splenic hit, or if I don't listen to this, I know because I know, that's actually what typically makes like the emotional wave kickstart. Where's the money going to come from? Wherever it is right now. Quote from Rob Proctor. Well, I love that one. The best story, figuring it out, faith, trust. I just won $10. Well, that's fun. I love hearing these stories. It helps me feel the flow you were in. And I think this is, I mean, I wanted to share that story as it came up and with Dimple's, remark as well earlier, because again, I think so often we look at where you're at, right now. And it's like, well, you're already successful. You already have money in the bank. You're already whatever it is. But the truth is, like, I chose to follow these principles and these laws of abundance without even knowing that there was laws of abundance. I chose this. Now you're in a place of awareness and knowing, like, even if it's not your current reality, you still get to choose it right now. You get to choose to lean in faith and trust and surrender. Now, again, just to highlight this, like I feel like I can trust so deeply because there's also that willingness. There's this willingness to move. There's the willingness to not have it figured out. There's the willingness to trust more in my soul calling than what my human mind and what logic dictates. I wrote a book. It's a miracle. I love this. It's brave to live this way. I love this magic, choosing to be a master of faith and trust. Like, honestly, now I just want to have a whole conversation around magic and miracles. And we're not going to, because I'm going to get to the abundance law number 7. But like, gosh, I have so many stories of magic and miracles, and everything from abundance and money miracles to my aunt who literally was told she wouldn't live to the weekend on a Monday, and she lived for 8 more years, like, and literally like medical miracles. Like, there's so many miracles for us to access, and some are big, huge miracles that are like literally life-saving miracles like that, and others are miracles of like just like literally day to day, the miracles that happen day to day. And when you start to notice the miracles that happen day to day, I feel like it just allows for like the bigger miracles to come in, and for you to play with miracles in always, all the ways, in all the ways. Emotional authority. When I started trusting my way, my faith, my knowing, my intuition, slow flow miracles were everywhere. I absolutely love that. Okay, so the 7th law. Your aunt story made me cry the first time I heard it on the Jacqueline Shaw show. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that I shared it there, but now I'm so happy I did. I'm like, I'm gonna have to go find that episode. The 7th law. This is one of my favorites. And this is where we access the more on top of more frequency, because the more on top of more frequency for me really feels like the key to receiving an overflow. And notice more on top of more energy. What comes up for you when I say the words more on top of more? Do you immediately go into, okay, there's got to be more doing? I mean, I hope at this point of the conversation that that's not where your mind goes, because more on top of more is not more doing. It's not the like more like fake it till you make it type of energy. It's not, this is what used to come in for me, is the like fake it till you make it energy. It was again that high vibe. I've got to be more excited to sell. I'm not a very excited person. Like, sometimes when I'm leading courses like this, I get really excited. But if I go on Instagram and I say to you guys, I'm so excited about this course I'm about to launch, and it's gonna be this and that, and blah, blah, and you should say yes, and I'm so excited, and I'm so excited, and I'm so excited. Like that's kind of my fake it till I make it more on top of more energy. What I usually feel when I'm launching something, what I usually feel like, again, the emotional authority comes in here. Oftentimes when people say yes, to my mastermind, to coming into work with me, it's like it will bring tears. It's like I feel like depth and gratitude and honored. And I'm like, oh, I get to, and we get to have those conversations and we get to do this together. And so I started to sell in this way instead of being like, oh, I've got to be more in more energy. I've got to be more bubbly. I've got to be more excited. It's like, I've got to be more of who I am. And so for some of you guys, you're going to be already excited and bubbly, and that's who you are. Well, allow yourself to be all of that. Allow yourself, if you've been told like you're too much, allow yourself to be more of that, more too muchness. Someone like me, it's like, can I allow myself to be more at the depth? Can I allow myself to be more of the truth of who I am? Can I allow myself to let the tears come at the beginning of this conversation and not try to stop them? Like, can I be more of who I really am? Like this for me is the more on top of more frequency. It's and this is one aspect, being more of who you truly are, owning that. It's like owning the too muchness, owning the trailblazer energy. If you're a trailblazer, owning, for some of you, it might be like owning more of your spiritual nature. For some of you, it may be owning more like me, like owning, like it's not excited energy. It's like that depth feeling. It's like being more of who you are. And this more on top of more frequency is really like, for me, it's about magnetizing abundance. Magnetizing abundance, again, like we said, receiving in overflow. And the biggest thing here is allowing yourself to not only be more of who you are, but to desire more of what you truly desire at the depth, at the core. Allowing yourself to want more, allowing your desires to expand your energy field. We're going to come back to this. It's like, okay, can I let my desires be fully out there? Can I let my desires, like, can I invite God and the universe to play and meet me in the realm of desire, because I'm willing to own the depth of my desire? And looking at where you allow yourself right now, again, where you come in and block this and limit this energy, because it's like, well, that's too much. It's too much to want that, or it's too much to think I could do that, or it's too much to want more. You should be satisfied with where you're at, or is that greedy, or is that selfish? Or if you want more, are people going to judge you? Like, look at where you bring in these limitations around the more on top of more frequency. When I talk about more on top of more energy, I always see this like, those like water fountains that just like one spills into the other and spills into the other and spills into the other. It's like, can I allow myself to experience like this overflow of desire, this overflow of abundance, this overflow of money, this overflow of wealth? And before we can receive it, we have to look at where, like at what level are you like, oops, no, that's enough. Like, that's enough. Let's not stop, because, oh my gosh, people are starting to look and the water's starting to splash around. And oh my gosh, like, who am I to want more? Who am I to state that I want more? Who am I to desire? This doesn't feel like I've been taught to be the good girl. Well, this doesn't feel like good girl energy here. Like, can we move beyond the thought patterns that we bring in around like, that's enough? Like, that's enough. That's good enough. I'm happy here. Like, oh yes. And this happens at so many different levels. It happens when it's like, I'm living like, many of you are right now likely very much living a life that you used to pray for, that you used to dream about. And so it's like, well, how can I desire more on top of this? And this is where I often play with desires when I really want to tap into like the more on top of more frequency. I look at desires in 3 layers, in like 3 levels. And I call them the heart, or sorry, not the heart. This is not your heart. This is the mind. I call them like the mind, the head level desires, the heart level desires, and like the pussy level sacred sacral desires, like the depth of desire here. And what this looks like, and why I want to share this, like bringing this energy all the way down and into depth of desire. This is where you're going to access and be available for more on top of more. Because often we desire, and this is where we start to play with desire in our head. It's like, okay, I desire this thing. And if you told people that you desire this thing, it's like, yes, Jack, like go for it. Like that desire is like right there. Like, yes, I think you can do it. It's like a logic-based desire. It's like, it's probably going to happen. Like it's logical, it's there. And it's like, I could share that desire with anyone because no one's going to judge it or think anything. It's like, yeah, good for you. Like good for you. Have that desire, check it off your list kind of energy. And then we shift into the heart level desires. And these are the type of desires that are often like those very like feel good desire. It's like, yes, like again, like let me clap for you. Like, oh, that would be so great if you did that. That's incredible. Your heart is so beautiful. You're so giving. You're so, again, you're such a good girl. You're this, you're that. Like, what a beautiful desire. I hope you get that desire, Jack. Like that is just a beautiful desire, and I'm cheering for you and I'm rooting you on. Those are the heart level desires. Again, beautiful desires, like heart level feel good desires, beautiful desires, and desire from this place, desire from the head and desire from the heart. And don't cut yourself off there. If you want to access the more on top of more frequency, can you allow yourself to go beyond? Can you allow yourself to go to that depth of desire that can feel very uncomfortable? It can feel uncomfortable. It can feel scary. It can be like, wait a second, I didn't even know I had that desire. Who am I to have that desire? Oh my gosh, I just wrote that desire in my journal and I want to rip up that page and burn it because I don't want anyone to ever know I had that desire. And oh my gosh, if I told this desire to these people right now, if I told this desire to my best friend, they might judge me. They might say like, oh my gosh, like that's not even possible. That's not like, who are you? Like, that's not realistic. That's not whatever. It's the kind of desire that you're like, is it even like, should I want this? Is it bad for me to want this? Am I a selfish person to want this? Am I greedy to want this? Am I, oh my gosh, like, I can't even believe I have this desire. Allow yourself. Can you allow yourself to go to the depth of the desire? Can you allow yourself to claim what you truly want? Can you operate in this frequency of like, I I get to play at this level. I get to experience at this level. I get to desire at this level. I get to know, like, if I have this desire within me, this desire wants me as much as I want it. And start to see. It's like if you're feeling limited in what you're able to receive, I'd look at your limitation and what you allow yourself to desire. Do you allow yourself to tap into the frequency of more on top of more in the desire realm first? I have so many of these I've hidden and suppressed. What happens if you bring them to the surface? And that doesn't mean bring them to the surface that you need to go on Instagram today and shout out your desires to the world, but can you bring them to the surface for you? You tap into your own desire of more on top of more, and then see where judgment comes in. Where do we judge ourselves for wanting more? Where do we judge ourselves? Where do we make it again mean something about us? Can I tap into the frequency of more on top of more in this energy of desire and play? And this is what, I really want to leave us with here. It's like tapping into these desires, allow these desires to then lead you by, again, going back into what we talked about before, not denying your soul. But with the laws of abundance, what happens when we see like money as a playground? What happens when we start to see and feel like we get to live and create in this playground of wealth and in this playground of abundance that we play with money? Money's responding to our frequency. Can I play with money? Can I tap in again to these messages again and again and again, knowing that abundance is infinite? Money responds to my energy. Can I lean in with faith and trust? Can I release the control? Can I release the attachment to the outcomes? Can I allow myself to desire? Can I literally, use the words like more on top of more? Can I open up more pathways? Can I where I resist? Can I allow my truth to be shared just for the sake of my truth to be shared? And at the core of all this, I've got to know and trust I'm worthy because I am. And what if, like, just what if life gets to be this magnificent? What if life gets to be this abundant? What if God is that magnificent? What if God is that giving? What if you decide that you're going to receive at this level? Because you're worthy, because you are, because life just is. that magnificent. Gorgeous souls, thank you for being here with me for day 2. I can't wait for the energy clearing and the activation tomorrow. I know that there was so much in here in the chat. I'm going to go through and read this chat. We're going to have 2 Q&A sessions coming in next week as well. I can't wait for all of it. I'm sending you so much love and abundance vibes, and receive, 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 receive always in all the ways, opening up your fields of abundance, tapping into the depth of desire, create from the space, create with your wealthy mind at the forefront. Bye-bye.
This is the network to be in for conscious female entrepreneurs.